Hello everyone. I'm Ray, your astrologer, and today we have another weekly forecast for the month of August. And we're going to be talking about August 19th through the 25th today. I'm going to include timestamps for each day this week in the description so that you'll have an easier time, like going back if you decide to rewatch us on a certain day this week, figure out what's going on, you can just skip right to that day. If you've been enjoying these forecasts, please share them with your friends and subscribe so that you don't miss out on anything as I grow this channel. That being said, I would love to know what kinds of questions you guys have about astrology and what kinds of videos you would like to see. While I'm only doing forecasts for now, I do plan on doing some other videos around just astrology in general education, common topics. Yeah, if there's anything that you'd like to see, let me know. Depending on what it is, I might even have another astrologer come to chat about it. All right, so let's get into this week. This week, for the 19th to the 25th, in general, you just want to relax. Don't try to do too much this week. Ask for help, slow down, and don't make anything harder than it needs to be. Your rest is going to pay off later, and so it's important that you get it. And it's important that you see rest as something that you can cultivate and harvest and then use in exchange for other things because when you're well rested, you have more energy to expend. And so if you can think of rest as like saving your energy, this is the time to do that. This is a week we want to slow down. And so we're going to get into each day now, starting with Monday the 19th. And on the 19th, we're going to have the moon in Aquarius, making a trine to Mars and Gemini. And then we're also going to have a full moon in Aquarius. So this is a big one, starting off the week big. The full moon is going to make an opposition to Mercury retrograding in Leo and a square to Uranus in Taurus. And on this same day, the moon is going to enter Pisces after it's full in Aquarius. And then we're also going to have Venus and Virgo making a square to Jupiter in Gemini and an opposition to Saturn retrograding in Pisces. We're going to have the Sun in Leo making a square to Uranus and Taurus. And we're going to have Jupiter in Gemini making a square to Saturn retrograding in Pisces. So we've got a lot going on today. For the most part, the scariest part of a roller coaster is the slow ascent. Try to remember that your growth is important, even if it's scary. The fun part is coming down. And so when I think of a roller coaster, I think of that slow ascent that goes upwards, and that slow ascension that's not the enjoyable part of the ride. It's not the part where you can literally just hear the gears and the chains grinding. And it's just kind of uncomfortable. And the fun part is once you get to the top and then you start coming down. And I think typically we view coming down as the scary part, as the kind of the spiral. And you can spiral upwards and you can spiral downwards. And spiraling is not necessarily an indicator that something is going poorly. And so just think about that and think about how coming down, maybe losing something or having less of something or just being less involved with a project, how that can be the fun part. It's having less responsibility. It's a change, and a change is always hard. But yeah, I just want to think of spiraling, and a better word than spiraling is maybe unraveling. And if you unravel a little bit today, just try and have fun with it. If your growth is kind of scary, then that's okay. It's part of it. Maybe you're spiraling upwards. Yeah, it just has a little bit of tension with it. And that's it for Monday, the 19th. And then on Tuesday, the 20th, we're going to have the Sun in Leo making a conjunction to Vesta, the asteroid goddess. We're also going to have Mercury retrograding in Leo making a square to Pallas Athena in Scorpio. And the Moon in Pisces will conjunct Saturn and make a square to Jupiter in Gemini. And so today on this Tuesday, it's a day to go inwards. Shape your sense of self around your ideals rather than your reactions. And so, if you get difficult news or you're just in a frustrating situation, maybe someone cut you off while you were driving, don't define yourself by these moments of pressure and tension. Like, that is not who you are in a crisis, and who you are in general are two very different things. And maybe they're similar. Maybe you are someone that handles crisis very well and you're able to act, within your character. Not everyone can do that. And I think that can get confusing for people that have a wide expression of reactions and emotions. And so, something that I do to kind of ground myself into who I am is to identify and to define myself by my ideals rather than the way I react to things. And so, if I get bad news and I have a poor reaction to it, yeah, that's part of me to an extent. But what I do from there is also part of me. And so if I'm, oh, hold on, I just need to calm down, that caught me off guard, that's also part of me. If I, engage with patience afterwards and, just kind of come back to myself a little bit, that's how I want to define myself rather than those reactions that might not mean anything. And that's it for Tuesday. We're not going to overcomplicate it. On Wednesday, we have the 21st. The moon is going to be in Pisces, making an opposition to Venus in Virgo, making a square to Mars and Gemini, a sextile to Uranus and Taurus, and a conjunction to Neptune retrograding in Pisces. Later that day, the same day on Wednesday, we're going to have the moon entering Aries and forming a sextile to Pluto retrograding in Aquarius. And so on Wednesday, when you're confronted with assistance, how do you respond? You may be surprised at who your allies are once you've allowed them to help you out. And so, most people, when they think of a confrontation, they think of conflict. They don't typically think of someone offering help. But for people that struggle to accept help and accept assistance, that can feel like a confrontation. It can feel like either you are being confronted with your own sense of pride in what you do, does this person think I can't do it on my own? Does that mean I'm not good enough? Does that mean, I'm not doing enough? It can confront you with the other person about what they think of you, like the things I just said, or even just your feelings about yourself. Maybe you're feeling those things and that's why it's coming out, even if the other person was just genuinely asking for help or offering help. So yeah, be careful not to write off people who are maybe a little bit neutral. Maybe you don't particularly like them, but they're not an enemy. Like, those people can still be willing to help out and they can still add value to your life. And so don't think your allies as people that are already your allies. Consider people that you're on the fence about as potential allies. And if they offer to help, take it. Find out what kind of terms and agreements and boundaries or whatever you need to feel comfortable in that position. If someone's giving you money and you need to pay them back to feel comfortable about taking it, then come up with a plan to pay them back and then take it. Take the loan or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, just don't be afraid to ask for help and don't be afraid to receive help when other people offer it. That's really important. And that's it for Wednesday. For Thursday, we have the 22nd. The Sun will enter Virgo, and then Venus in Virgo is going to make a square to Mars and Gemini. So it's time to get grounded. Not all ground is equal though. Move cautiously on unsteady ground or run free on solid footing. And so yesterday I was thinking about this. I was at a friend's house and I was sitting in a chair and my feet were hanging off of it. And the table in front of us had a cloth over it that ran all the way to the floor and then, kind of laid out on the floor a little bit. And my feet, even though I was in the chair, I was leaning forward and my feet were on that little tablecloth that was the part that was on the floor. And I moved a little bit and my feet slipped and I almost fell. Crisis averted, I didn't fall, but it made me think of this because even if the ground itself is steady, there could be something on top of the ground, like a tablecloth, that makes it unsteady. And so it's not just about the ground itself, but also what else is on the ground. And yeah, it can look different for different situations, but it's a day to get grounded and it's a day to, if you're not sure what being grounded means, it's just being in alignment with the world around you, with it, like what you can see with what's around you, the circumstances you're in. And so if the ground you're walking on is a child's bedroom and they have a bunch of Legos. Or it's a computer room and there are cords on the ground or little, those sticky little outlets that will get you if you step on them. The ground may be steady, it might be solid ground, but the terrain itself might not be solid terrain. And so just take some time today, take apart your environment, take apart your dynamics in your relationships, and use that as information to figure out the best way to move forward. Because if we assume something is steady and it's not, we're going to fall. And if we assume something is unsteady and then we are overly cautious there, then, sometimes that can raise caution in other people and then kind of become pretty messy. So that's it for the 22nd for Thursday. Next, we are going to have Friday the 23rd. Wow, this has been one of the most retrogrades of all time, Mercury retrogrades of all time. I had my notes mixed up again, just like last week when the retrograde started. Anyways, we're on to August 23rd, Friday. On Friday, we're going to have the moon in Aries making a sextile to Jupiter in Gemini and Mars in Gemini. It is also going, excuse me, It is also going to make a trine to Mercury retrograding in Leo, and then later in the day, the moon will enter Taurus and make a square to Pluto retrograding in Aquarius, and a trine to the sun in Leo. So for this Friday, I want you to ask for what you want today, but be careful for what you ask for. Take some time to think about what it is you actually want before asking. And so, yeah, I'm thinking ask for what you want, but wait, don't do it. Don't do it if you don't have clarity on what you want, because it really makes it confusing for the other person. And someone else can be in a position where they want to give you what you want. They want to help you out and to make you feel good. And if they're not clear on what you want and you're not clear on what you want, then there's no way to communicate that. And so on Friday, the moon will enter Taurus at 8 p.m. And so I'm thinking leave those conversations for the evening and spend the day thinking about it. And with the moon in Aries, you might feel kind of rushed. You might feel like, well, I know what I want. I want to do that. Stop. Think. Question your feelings. Take them apart and challenge them because sometimes we think we want one thing and we actually want something else. And, we are the only ones that can judge what we want, which makes it harder because when we're confused about it and we want clarity from someone else, they can't give us clarity on something that we experience. So just take some time. And if you do want to talk about it, I love the language of struggling with it. And what I mean by that is struggling to explain it. There was one time in therapy many, many years ago. I've been in therapy for about a decade now. And it was one of the first therapists I had ever seen. I don't remember exactly who or when it was, but I remember I was trying to explain something to them about how I felt, and I was getting frustrated because I couldn't put words to it. And I couldn't even get a starting place. And I remember she told me, I told her, like, I'm just having really a hard time putting words to it. And she said, that's okay. You can struggle with it. And I was like, oh. And so I think if you go into the conversation with the intention of like, hey, I'm not fully sure what I want, kind of want to struggle with it a little bit. Can I just be really blunt or really direct? Can we have a conversation where I can just say what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking without having to filter it? And, can you hold that space for me without reacting to what I'm saying? Because that's not a fully fleshed out thought. And telling people, hey, this is not a fully formed concept in my mind, but it is something that I want to unpack a little bit. That does give them the clarity of what you want. Even if you don't know what you want, they at least know that you want clarity and that you want a better understanding. And that's something that if they know that, then they won't feel the pressure of having to come up with the meaning for you or having to explain something that you are experiencing that they aren't. So yeah, ask for what you want today, but be careful what you ask for. That's it for Friday. Next, we have Saturday, the 24th. So, the 24th Saturday, we're going to have Mars in Gemini. It's going to make a sextile to Mercury retrograding in Leo and another sextile to Chiron retrograding in Aries. On the same day, we have the asteroid goddess Vesta entering the sign of Virgo. And so review some of your old writing today. Don't judge where you used to be. See how much you've grown. Mistakes are markers of growth. So mistakes are not just signs of failure, they're also signs of growth. And I think that's really important to remember here. And with Vesta entering Virgo, I talked last week about how Vesta is like the core of our being. It's like that hearth fire. It's the reason our heart beats. And Virgo has just this energy of service. And so this idea of being helpful, this feeling of being helpful. And so maybe you need to feel helpful to someone else. Something that kind of caught me off guard recently. I was talking about, I was in couples therapy with my husband, our therapist, and we were talking about needs and communicating our needs and how it's difficult to do that when you don't know what they are. Very in line with the astrology of this week. And so we were talking about communicating needs with each other. And she was like, I'm just going to go make a guess based off of what I'm hearing. You can correct me if I'm wrong. This is your experience. Do you, Ray, me, do you feel like you have a need to fulfill your husband's needs? And I was like, I think I do. And so one of my needs wasn't even about me necessarily. It was about me in the sense that I wanted to feel helpful and useful. I have a son in Virgo, and we like to feel helpful. And I think sometimes that's why we have a reputation of giving unsolicited advice or criticism when what we're doing is trying to be helpful and be useful and improve something. It doesn't always come across that way. Unsolicited advice is rarely appreciated. But yeah, there's a change in how we're serving ourselves and serving others. And the key takeaway from today is that mistakes are markers of growth. And you learn a lot from mistakes, and your body remembers that knowledge because mistakes can be uncomfortable at best, and your body will remember that discomfort and the lessons that you learned from it. And so it's important to be intentional about the lessons that our mistakes and our discomfort are teaching us, because they are teaching us and our body is remembering them, whether we want it to or not. And that's it for Saturday. Next, we have Sunday, the 25th. We're going to have the moon in Taurus, making a sextile to Saturn retrograding in Pisces, a square to Mercury retrograding in Leo, a trine to Venus in Virgo, a conjunction to Uranus, and a sextile to Neptune retrograding in Pisces. Later in the day, we're going to have the moon entering Gemini, and it's going to make a trine to Pluto retrograding in the very early degrees of Aquarius. What you experience now won't last forever. Savor things until the last drop, so your memories will be even sweeter. Your actions now will flavor your future memories. There's a cheesy little quote on my mother-in-law's bathroom wall, and it says something like, I didn't know we were making memories, I just thought we were having fun. And it is cheesy, but it's true. It is also true. The experiencing you're having now will become memories, and maybe you won't remember them vividly right away, but maybe something will happen way down the line that reminds you of this, the experience you're having. And so savor them. Teddy Roosevelt, good to the last drop. I don't remember the full quote. I did do a project on it in elementary school. Yeah, your actions now will flavor your future memories. And that's all I have for this week. It really is just a time to kind of slow down and relax. I don't want you to put too much pressure on yourself to get a lot done. Schedule a day out to relax. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Please feel free to let me know what kind of future content you would like to see in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And if you're ready for a more personal forecast or have something you want to talk with an astrologer about, check out my website to see if any of the services are a good fit for you. I would love to get together and talk astrology. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and have fun. I'll see you next week.